There we go. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today, taking time out of your very busy schedules. I know that the end of the semester is approaching for those of you who are students, and that it's a very busy time. So I'm very happy that all of you could be here and participate in this workshop, especially those of you who lived through this once already. So don't worry about scanning this attendance sheet, but if any of you need to log in for these computers to follow along, this is a workshop where you guys are going to be actively working through making a, hello, nice to see you. This is a workshop where you're going to be actively working through and following along. So this is the code for those computers. Does anybody have, if you want to write this on a sticky note so you can hand it to anybody else that walks in?
I'll do you one better.
There you go. Just take photos. Nice.
It's recording.
Yes. So my name is Diana Phillips. I graduated with the class of 2024. I was a major in marine biology, and I minored in research, GIS, and pre-health. I used to be the vice president of ASPRS, but now I am an alumni advisor. And I worked at REEF last year. So REEF is the Reef Environmental Education Foundation. I started off as a marine conservation intern with the Our World Underwater Scholarship. They're an incredible organization. If you are not familiar with them, I highly, highly recommend looking into their scholarship programs. They will fund you to go to New York and meet all of the Our World Underwater scholars and interns. And then they will fund you to go and do an internship. And they have a number of internships, not just at REEF, but with a variety of different organizations, depending on what you want. I know Nico's looked into the photography one before. But it's just a really incredible experience, and I couldn't say enough good things about that organization. After that, I decided that I liked REEF so much that I wanted to stick around, so I continued as a Marine Conservation Fellow. It's kind of like an intern, except for only the summer. I was there for an entire year. So what is REEF? They are a marine conservation organization, and they're located in Key Largo, Florida, which is the very first key in the Keys. They have a bunch of main programs. So they have the Volunteer Fish Survey Project, which is the project we're going to talk about today. They have their Invasive Species Program, which is focused on hunting lionfish. They have their Grouper Moon Project, which is focused on the endangered Nassau grouper, which are an important keystone species throughout the Caribbean. And then the last one is the Ocean Explorers Education Program. That would be basically what this is, which is where REEF does some sort of outreach in order to reach new audiences and teach them all about the incredible things that REEF does, but also give them a passion and greater understanding for the ocean that they hopefully didn't have before they started. We have over 84,000 members worldwide, and we have completed over 300,000 fish surveys, making REEF one of the largest fish databases in the entire world. So the Volunteer Fish Survey Project began in 1990 with the Nature Conservancy and the National Marine Fisheries Service, and its mission was to gather information about the abundance of fish, not only in the United States, but also across the world, so that we could track both how it was changing and also utilize volunteers, which are always constantly in the water, and have this capacity to do research as what we call citizen scientists. So you can snorkel or you can scuba dive. Anybody can contribute. And yeah, it's a really great program that helps us, especially as undergraduates who may not be able to go out and collect our own data. It gives us the opportunity to be able to utilize this data we wouldn't normally have access to. Sending hundreds of people out multiple times a year throughout 20 years would be incredibly expensive. But as we utilize people who are already there, it makes that entry much lower. So there's over 15,000 survey sites across the world, and this data has been used in over 130 publications. It monitors species distributions, declines, or new and invasive species. So why do surveys? If you guys are ever interested in doing surveys, especially as marine biologists, this is one of the easiest ways that you can gain volunteer hours because you can do it wherever you go just by getting the survey sheets from REEF. So it allows you to dive with a purpose. It is so fun to finally go underwater and actually know all of the fish that you're seeing. It's a really cool experience. You have a life list of all of the fish that you've seen. So if there's anything that you'd like to see, you can kind of mark it off, kind of like a life list for bird watching. And it's also really fun. Like I've done so many years of scientific diving that I don't even like diving when I'm not doing science. I just find it like too boring. And so I really enjoy it. Then you also get to become an advocate. I can say that even though I'm only 23 years old, over the course of my life, I started doing this at 12 years old. And I've seen the keys change. I've seen our local reefs change. And so when you're documenting it and you're a part of it and you're a member of the scientific community as a volunteer, you become an advocate because you see with your own eyes things that you may not have reported or noticed. And then you get to contribute to the cause, help other people, help students just like you gain more data. So there are 10 survey regions worldwide. Why do you think we have divided the world into survey regions? Leadership or can answer if they want. There's different species and climates. Yeah, there's different species and climates. So the first thing is that there's going to be different organisms, you know, off the coast of Florida than there's going to be in the Pacific. So it also allows us to see if there's invasive species moving into new regions. When we've divided them into these categories, if there's something that's not from one of these areas, it can be a really early indicator, and we can report that to government agencies in a way that you wouldn't be able to if people weren't tracking it. So what region are we located in right now?
Hawaii.
Yes, we are located in the tropical Western Atlantic. So this survey data is utilizes the roving diver technique. Does anybody know what that is?
Swimming around and seeing what's there.
Swimming around and seeing what's there, exactly. So we utilize region, dive site, and zone codes. So you would be tropical Western Atlantic, maybe your dive site is 001, and then your zone code would be the zone within that region that you are. So much like a normal address, it breaks it down even finer so that you can do geospatial analysis with this data. We also collect a lot of metadata, which is the time of day, the visibility, all of this sort of stuff that you can then analyze the abundance versus all of this metadata. Then we collect the species and abundance. So the species is what kind of fish is that, and the abundance is how many do we find. And then lastly, there's multi-phase error check. So what this means is that a lot of databases don't do any error check. Sometimes they'll just accept whatever answers come in, and then that will be the answer. iNaturalist is a great example of this. People, you know, self-moderate, but there's not necessarily a team behind it that's making sure that those answers are accurate. At REEF, something that they do is after every single survey is submitted, it has to be checked by a member of REEF to make sure that those answers make sense. So if you put single instead of few, they're not going to know that. But if you record something like a red grouper in an area that a red grouper shouldn't be, somebody will send you an email and be like, do you have a picture? And when you inevitably say no, they're going to remove that off of your survey and it will not get counted because it is unlikely that you actually identified it correctly or saw it, or they're just not confident enough that that would be a species that you'd actually see. And this is very good for you guys as scientists because it means that you have to clean out a lot less data. And instead of throwing away a whole survey, you can actually utilize that sheet because they've done that multi-level error checking. So as I mentioned, we look for species. So you will separate first by family and then by species. They use common names. So we're not expecting everyday people to be able to understand all of the scientific names for all of these organisms. So what would be an example of a fish family?
Aquariums.
Not the scientific family.
Oh.
The common name family.
Snappers.
Snappers, that's a great example. Snappers, what are a few more? Like angelfish, groupers, grunts, all of these are fish families. What about species? Do we know even one fish species? Sergeant Major, perfect. That is a type of damselfish. So then after that, we do abundance, and they're broken into categories, which is single for one, few for 2 to 10, many for 10 to 100, and abundant for greater than 100. Why, instead of counting fish underwater, do we put them into these size categories, especially when we're utilizing volunteers?
We're moving creatures in large groups often.
They're moving creatures in large groups. It is so difficult to try to quantify the fish that you are seeing. And something that you're going to notice is that the time that you are putting your head down and writing something is the time that a fish is walking by. Like once you become a great surveyor, sometimes you just have like a plain data sheet and you are just writing all of the names because finding it on a sheet is too time consuming and stuff. So REEF also monitors a few different types of invertebrates and algae. These are for very specific regions where this is relevant. But if that's something that you're interested in, that is something that they also look at, which is the armored anemone, social tunicate, and sea lettuce. And if you want to know more about those, you can check out the REEF website. They also have a sea turtle sighting program. And so in this sea turtle sighting program, they said that we are a big organization with a lot of volunteers that are going out there. Sea turtles are not fish, but we are going to include them in the surveys. Because if we're already going to have volunteers out there recording what they see, they might as well have the opportunity to do sea turtles. They can also record sharks and also eels, which, yeah, they're kind of fish, but it's good to know that those are also species that you could find. So experience levels, not only do they do multi-level error checking, but they also have experience levels which allow you as scientists to further clean your data depending on how accurate you want it to be. So they have 5 levels, 1 being novice and expert levels being 4 and 5. The way that you get higher levels is you go out and you collect a lot of surveys, and then they also have tests to test you on your knowledge. And then they have like Quizlets and study materials online if you guys want to learn more fish ID. And then you can just sign up online and they'll give you a little test. It's super fast. It's like 15 minutes. They're literally just going to show you all of the fish for that level, and then you can move on to the next level. And so this is another great thing for your applications, is that if you're an expert level fish surveyor, I know right now there is a NOAA cruise that is looking for expert level fish surveyors. So there you go. That's an internship right there that you've just qualified for because you volunteered for this program. So steps to submit data. First, you make an account. It's free. I love that. And then you enter all of your metadata and log the fish that you see. It's a very straightforward process. So now we're going to get into the geospatial workshop component. So what data was requested? So I went through the REEF website, and I know a few of you, are any of you in householders class right now and are looking for, okay, so then I should give the full explanation of how to grab stuff. Okay, I'll do that. We'll do that at the end, or towards the end. But what I did, I reached out to REEF. I was working there, so it was very easy. And I said, I would like 3 sites. I would like the French Reef, Alligator Reef, and Davis Reef. And then I would like for 2 species to be collected. I would like the princess parrotfish and the midnight parrotfish. As you can see, there's a bunch of numbers associated with this. Each species has its own number in this database. So you guys can go into, how many of you are going to follow along in this process? Yeah, everybody? Nice. Does everybody have access to the Discord / are you going to work with each other to make that happen? Okay, nice. So I just posted in the workshop section the data that you're going to be using, and I also posted the worksheet that you have. So all of our online people can follow along. Everybody in person has a printed worksheet to work with. Are we all good before I move on?
For your people online, it says the invite link is expired. Or at least the QR is.
Oh, I see. Yeah, would you mind joining the Zoom? Just make sure that your like microphone and volume are all the way off, and then if you could send the share link to the Discord.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we are going to be in the process of creating a dashboard. So for those of you in a class, what is a dashboard?
An interactive array of maps and graphs that display your visual.
Perfect. So I will be running through this very quickly, but then I'll let you guys decide. Do you want to run through the like pre-made, basically making exactly this, or would you guys rather mess around with the data on your own? And I'll give you some time to experiment with the data set that I've given you.
I think experiment a little bit fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is an example of what I did, and you guys all have sheets with you if you want to work through it. So I'm going to walk you through the first part, which is getting this CSV file onto your computer, and then I'm going to let you guys take the reins. So this is what our worksheet looks like for everybody online. So we are going to start with opening a brand new map. Let me go home so I can walk you through the whole process. So we are going to open our ArcGIS Online. How's everybody doing? Are they logged in?
Jellyfish Geos Insights.
It's only when you have personal. Make drum roll.
Yes, that is only for people who have personal accounts.
Like playing.
Okay, so if we are all logged in, the first thing that you're going to do on is click map. Very easy. So from this map, now you have created your brand new, beautiful map. What is the first thing we're going to do? We have the cheat sheet, but you should know this. Save it. There you go. Very good. So we are going to save it. When you are saving things, it is very important that you are labeling them, that you are tagging them, that you are having a summary in there. If you have the worksheet, especially the online version, you can just copy and paste. So now that I have saved my map, what is the next step that I'm going to need to do?
Add a layer.
Add a layer. Very good. So to add my layer, I have just downloaded it off of the Discord. The Discord is right here. You will go to the workshops section. And then right here, you can click this ... and select download. As soon as you select download, you can go to add layers.
Oops, there it goes.
And you're going to select add layer from file. From here, you can open your downloads folder, and then you can simply drag it over. We are going to want to create a hosted featured layer, and we are going to want to add it to our map. And then you will see all of these fields. I can also select the time zone that my data is in. We are currently in Florida. All of our data is in Florida, so we will be using the New York time zone. So it's very important to make sure that when you're utilizing data, that these fields are correct. You don't want to switch up latitude and longitude. Sometimes they're not named that, sometimes it's not super easy. But that is a very easy way to accidentally get all of your stuff in Africa. So it's important to make sure that you are paying attention to the Latin long when you are importing data. So the other thing that's important is we want to make sure that we are always adding all of our tags, because it can be really challenging to find a lot of this stuff later if you're not putting tags on it. And then also, if you ever share any of this with other people or post it online for everybody to access, then it means that they won't have the ability to know what it is. And that's a big issue, especially as we become better researchers, or especially if we become geospatial professionals. You want to make sure that you're labeling things in a way that you, your organization, and people outside your organization are going to understand. So now that we have imported it, I can leave you guys here. I can walk you through the next steps. You want the next steps? Okay, I'll finish going through all of this map portion, and then I'll let you guys experiment with the actual making the thing. The thing. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to duplicate this layer. After we duplicate this layer, we are going to rename it. So one, we are going to name Princess Parrotfish. The other, we are going to rename Midnight Parrotfish. Perfect. Now we have our 2 fish and 3 sites. So from here, I'm going to click on the first one. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to start with Princess Parrotfish, and I'm going to add a filter. Why am I adding a filter? Do we have a spare one of those?
Thank you.
I don't want to steal from you guys, please.
Okay. Thank you.
So we are going to switch this over to species. And then you'll see that we have 2 options. We have either 149 or 148. For our Princess Parrotfish, its code is 148. And then for a Midnight Parrotfish, we are going to do the same thing. We are going to create a filter. And this time we are going to do 139. So now that we have done those 2 things, we are going to go over to clustering. Which will be under your aggregation tool. From here, you'll see that our things look different. Now, all of a sudden, the size has changed. And if I'm not sure if the filter has actually been selected, a really easy way to check is to go over to the species and to just look at it and visually make sure that it has been selected. So from here, we can start to change the symbology. And something that's going to help us out is changing this color so that it is easy to see the difference between the 2. So for simplicity's sake, we are going to have one be dark blue and the other be pink. So as you can see, when you turn them on and off, you can see that these numbers change. So you can see the slight difference in between the rates of those two parrotfish and how many parrotfish in general were recorded. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a layer that is located in the Browse tab. How's everybody doing? Who we got to this point? We're all good? Okay, perfect. So we're going to add a new layer, and this new layer we are going to search on ArcGIS Online. And we're going to type in so after we have added our sanctuary preservation areas, which should be included as these little polygons, now we can start to see whether each of these dots is located within or outside of any of our sanctuary areas. So we can see that this one is located within a sanctuary area and the other ones, and then one of them is not and two of them are. And we can see the difference between them. So something that you'll probably notice that's pretty interesting is that generally the idea behind these sanctuary preservation areas is the fact that these sanctuary preservation areas are supposed to increase the biomass of these fish. They're supposed to increase the abundance of the fish that we find. So this might be an interesting finding. If I'm noticing it with these three sites, then maybe that would be something that piques my interest and that would allow me to expand this idea and continue looking at other sites. Some things to keep in mind. I chose three very specific sites, but sometimes because these are reefs, dive sites are kind of arbitrary. Sometimes there can be 3 or 4 dive sites that are called different things but are kind of in the same area. And those fish are most likely traveling from one area to the other area, especially if they're within a couple of miles. So that's something to keep in mind when you're doing this, is just be very conscious about the conclusions that you're drawing as you look at this data. So then once you have added your layers, you're going to add a label to your sanctuary preservation area. And your label is going to be the zone name. And so now you can see all of these names popping up. So if we wanted to remove some of these labels, we could add a filter if there was ones that weren't relevant. We can also edit our label style. Something that can be really helpful is this offset tool. It means that if we have something that is directly on top of another point, we have the ability to change its positioning a little bit so that it's not directly on top of that stuff that we want to look at. So once you have moved it to wherever you feel is a particularly good place, you can close out of that. And then you can start adding your filters. So since there is only 2 that are relevant for us, we are only going to create 2 label filters. So we're going to create one for the Alligator Reef Sanctuary, and then the second one that we're going to do is for the Davis Reef Sanctuary. Those are the 2 ones that are involved in this data. So as you can see, when you do that, all of a sudden, all of your labels disappear. Part of why that happened is because of the selection at the very top, which says that all of the following are true. Instead, we're going to put any of the following are true. And so this is something that can mess people up when they're first doing filters, is it's really important to make sure that you have a good understanding of what all of those contingencies are. So it would be stuff like, is it saying is it saying or, is it saying and? And you can see that there's a bunch of different options with how you do these filters. So with that being said, we can start creating charts, but I figure that I'll let you guys play with the data and then you guys can decide what charts you want to do. So the only thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to go over to the dashboards and you guys can create your own dashboards. So at this point, I'm going to save it one more time. And then we can go over here and you will select this one that has the little orange sign. And then from here, you will create your dashboard. And much like before, you're going to give it a title, your tags, and a short summary of what you did. So while you guys are working on that, I will go back over to my example so you guys can see what mine looks like. And I'm going to let you guys play around with it and actually get some experience. And if anybody needs an account so that they can
Trying to find that zone name label.
you have the wrong one.
I do have it.
Oopsies. If you just copy and paste it from the Word doc, it's the easiest because if it's like slightly wrong, it pulls up a different layer.
So stupid. There.
Okay, so we are continuing. Everybody who is still working on their dashboards can feel free to continue working on them while I'm talking through this portion. So with this portion, we're going to talk about actually utilizing the database. So the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to be interpreting the data. So what variables can you use? You can utilize their geographic location, their region, zone, and site. You can look at survey type. We do actually allow people to only identify the type of species that they see and not identify the abundance. That just gives our volunteers a little bit more flexibility. So you can have the fish only, invertebrate only, fish and invertebrate, species only, or species and abundance. Then you can also select your date range. This is really important. If you are asking REEF to send you all of the data in Florida ever, they won't, because it's a giant, giant data set and they have no good way to get it to you. So you have to be very specific about what you ask for. That's why for this project, I said I want 3 sites, 2 species. That's how specific I was, because I had a very specific lens that I was looking to go through. For some of the larger projects where people are going to eventually be publishing, of course, they'd be willing to work with you for that sort of stuff. But for a class project, try to keep it down to the bare bones. Try to think about specific questions that you have and make a targeted request rather than being like, give me all the data so that I can figure out what I want to do with this data. Like a great example of that might be 2 species that you know are predator and prey, and then tracking these 2 predator versus prey species and seeing how their abundance interacts with each other. Maybe you could also bring in something like local fishing, how many of those fish that they're actually taking out of the water, and compare that then. So there's a couple of really cool ways that you can look at it. So when you are interpreting this data, you're going to be given a few things. The first thing is your sighting frequency. That is how often you are seeing this particular organism. So obviously 95.42% means that this organism is something that we see a lot. A density of 3.5 means that we also see them in relatively high densities when we're going out. The majority of the time we're seeing many, so between 10 to 100. So in this, we assign numerical values to those single, few, many, and abundance that we talked about earlier. And with this numerical value, we can then extrapolate that, and we know that a 3.25 means that the majority of the time we are seeing between 10 to 100 of these organisms. So we can see that there is a high density when there is greater than 3, and that there's also a high sighting frequency when you see it more than half of the time. This is pretty usual for a lot of our common species that we see around here. Would be an example that's not on this list that you kind of see in high densities, and you often see them most of the time. What was that?
What was that again? Like fish?
I mean, to steal her example again, I see sergeant majors all the time in large.
Yeah, exactly. So you generally see a lot of sergeant majors, and you generally see them more than half the time that you're out there. Then you can also have organisms that have really high densities, but you see them not so frequently. So that can be things like garden eels. Whenever you see a patch of garden eels, you're going to be seeing, potentially definitely more than 10, and up to 100 of them. Then you have organisms that you're going to find in low density and high sighting frequency. So this is going to be things that are generally solitary. Trumpetfish are a great example of this because you generally see between 1 to 3 on a dive, but you see them relatively often. And then the last one is going to be things that you find in low density and also have a relatively low sighting frequency. So that would be things like a green moray, right? Like probably it'll be less than half the time you see a green moray. So there's a few different reports that you can request. You can request a report for a geographic area. So this could be a report for the tropical Western Atlantic. You can also have a distribution report. So this would be, I'm looking at a I think I'm going to go through all of these in a second, but you can have your geographic area report, your distribution report, your batch report, then your top stats report, your diversity report, or a comparison report. So the first one is our geographic area report. So this is a species list and siting data for a selected area or site. So this will be within your region. There will be multiple sites in this region, and you will be able to have a species list and siting data for that particular geographic area. The next one is a distribution report. So these are siting locations and data for a selected species or family. So as we discussed, a family would be like the grunts, and then a species would be, I specifically want to look at the differences in populations between French grunts and blue grunts because they always end up together, but generally who has the least abundance in between them might be slightly different, even though you often find them in high abundances and together. So another one would be a batch report. So this will be stuff like when you go out and you have a trip. So for instance, if everybody who went to the Galapagos went out and they recorded all of this on their trip, you could then request all of that data from their Galapagos trip, and you could see what everybody recorded and see the differences between all of these individual people. Or if people did a trip like this on a regular basis, if this was an annual trip or a biannual trip, then you could see how those populations change depending on the trip. And you could also track, if you didn't even want to know about the fish, you could totally track just the sites that they were recording data and see how that changed throughout the years. So maybe in 2020, they only recorded data at 3 sites, but in 2025, they recorded, at more than that. And another one will be your top stats report. So this top statistics across regions, species, sites, and surveyors. So for instance, we can see the total number of surveys in each of these regions, and we can also see the total number of species in these regions. So we can see that some areas have less and other areas have significantly more. Then we also have our diversity reports. So the number of species recorded at a given site or region. So these diversity reports are things like specifically Phil Foster Park. How many organisms am I seeing out there? How many change throughout time? Things like that. Then you can have comparison reports. So you can compare siting data for up to 3 areas or sites. So that is the kind of report that I did. I asked for a comparison report, and then I specified it even further by asking for a specific species. But if I wanted to, I could have taken those same 3 locations that I had before and requested all of the fish observation in those 3 sites. And then I could also put a time limit on it. I could say that I only want it for the past 5 years. Or if I knew that there was something interesting that happened, like they're planning on putting a new protected area in a region, I could say that I want it for the last 20 years, and then I could request it after that's been recorded. So I could kind of have a great snapshot of what happened before, in the middle, and after something like a protected area existed. So with that being said, that is all the different kinds of ways that you can request data from REEF. So what is the value of the citizen science? It is data that is used in research. It is data that can be utilized by college students just like you for all sorts of projects. What they have historically found, this particular study was looking at assessing the value of citizen science observations in tracking the abundance of marine fishes. And what they found is that citizen scientists often had comparable recordings to professional scientists, which is really good for us because that means that this can be a really good method of open data that we can utilize and we can trust that it's accurate. And that's really important for us as scientists to know. So this is something that I highly recommend if you guys are interested in utilizing this data to take a photo of. This is Christy Simmons. She is the co-director of the REEF Environmental Education. Foundation, and she is the one to reach out to if you have any specific requests. When you are citing our database, there's a very specific way to do it. If you check on our website, you can also find that. But it's important to make sure that whatever organization you are getting your open data from, one thing that I can guarantee you is that there's a very specific way that they want you to cite their data. And that is something to keep in mind, is that no matter whether you get it from FWC, from NOAA, from REEF, you want to make sure that you're always giving credit in the ways that they want to. And different organizations will have different requirements for you. So it's something as scientists that you should be very conscientious of. This is a few more of their recent publications. And you can see that they're doing things like just the abundance. Goliath groupers specifically, also scalloped hammerheads and great hammerheads. We see a lot of this utilized for sharks and also for turtles because those are two things that are reported. But yeah, so all of these upcoming events are old, but I highly recommend the Lionfish Derby. This date is old, but there is a new Lionfish Derby, and I highly recommend it. You have the ability to win big prizes if you want to just go and attend the festival. It's really fun. They're going to give you free lionfish tacos. It's only about like an hour and a half from here. You're going to get to see all of the lionfish that people are removing from our reefs. They're an invasive species which hurt our local reefs in Florida. And so removing them from our reefs is really important. That and you get to eat yummy lionfish tacos. There's usually like all sorts of cool vendors that are there too. And it's just a really great festival. It's a very fun time. Something else to keep in mind is that REEF has a lot of lionfish workshops. Lionfish workshops are super fun because as long as you are dive certified, they will take you out to go hunt lionfish. And then they will teach you how to make something delicious with it afterwards. So it is very cool. They do a lot of very good things. They also have a wide variety of fishing hours. Again, all of these are old, but they have all sorts of cool new things. And if you ever miss something, they have all of their fishing hours located on their website. So if there's something interesting that you want to watch, you can always go back and retroactively do that. Then this is a volunteering opportunity. So this one is for the AI portion of that SMILE project that I was talking about. The SMILE project is the Size Matters Length Estimates project. It utilizes remote sensing, which is a laser. And with this laser, they take photos of fish with a little laser dot on it. Utilizing the diameter of that fish, we can calculate the size of the fish. And we're working to train the technology to be able to also identify the species of the fish and whether it is in its initial subadult or adult stage. Certain fish that they're focusing on are fish like the stoplight parrotfish, all of the groupers that are located in this area, and then a few specific types of snappers. They also need divers for this project. Right now, I think they may not be having too many more of these boats that go out, but this is something that I got to do a lot last year, is I got to take these cameras out with the laser attached and do a lot of dive with citizen scientists, just like you guys, to go out on our boats and to take photos of fish with these cameras. It's a very fun experience. And I know right now they have a new program where they, if you have this TG6, they're developing a program where eventually this whole thing is going to be citizen science, and they will sell you the little like laser mount holder and recommend which laser to buy. And then marine biologists, a group of marine biologists can go out and take photos with the laser. And then that can be added into the database so we know what's happening with these key species of fish. And they also have a brand new facility. So for those of you going to Key West this weekend, or Alvarado this weekend, I highly recommend stopping by. I got to contribute a lot to this brand new museum. I got to design a lot of very fun things in there. And I got to work with the team that was building it. And so it was a really great experience. You never realize just how detailed every single tiny component of making a new museum is. But from things to the font size of a sign and whether or not we would include multiple languages throughout the facility, to what photos we would use, to what kinds of activities that we wanted. it was so cool getting to be there in that snapshot of this organization's history. So with that, thank you very much. I look forward to reviewing all of your dashboards in a minute. And do you guys have any questions? No? Okay, nice, lovely. Something that I will do because I was asked to is I will just show you what the REEF website looks like so that you can see what it looks like. So for over here, you can see that when you click on programs, the very first thing that pops up is the Volunteer Fish Survey Project. And then from here, you can go to the geographic zone codes. You can click on all of these regions. You can see all of the different sections that they have, and then you can review all sorts of specifics about each of these regions. You can also see all of the publications that they have listed. And you can look at the top stats in each of these regions. Bye, Bryce. No, you're all good. And so through here, you can see a whole wide variety of data. And as you see, they have an option for some of these more general things. You can download the CSV right from their website. If you want something specific, you're going to have to reach out to them directly. But if you want something general, then you can just download that CSV right off of their website. The other thing that I'm going to teach you guys all about while I have you here is this really incredible, under education, they have Fissionars. All of these Fissionars are lovely. They also have quizzes of common fish. So if we go over to the tropical Western Atlantic, I'll just click on this one real quick. But you can start your quiz and you'll be tested on what kinds of organisms that you see. As you guys move across the world, this could be a really great opportunity to learn about all of these different things. The other thing that they have is they have their active directory. And in this active directory, when you scroll over to the tropical Western Atlantic, you can see all of this stuff like their beginners courses for TWA fish. You can also see all of the cryptics, and you can see it by fish family. So if you ever want to learn any of these, this is a really amazing resource because basically it is a video that is going to teach you all of this. And so they're going to talk you through what is the difference between a queen angelfish, what is the difference between all of these things. You can learn right on this website. The other thing that they have that's really awesome is they have a Quizlet study deck for all of these fish. And so when you go to the tropical Western Atlantic, you can select each of these and it will actually give you this already pre-made Quizlet with all of this information. So this is a really amazing study resource. And if you ever wanted to do a workshop, if you just wanted like an easy workshop for an organization that you're a part of, hopping on the REEF website and being like, today, I'm just going to tell you fun facts about all of the fish in this Quizlet. And then everybody can go home and practice on their own. But this is a skill. My learning of fish was a skill that allowed me, I had actually already been volunteering for REEF for many years before I interned with them and before I became a fellow. In the same note, utilizing the AGRA databases to learn about corals has allowed me to get a job working as a marine biologist post-graduation. So these are the kinds of skills that you want to be building. It's something that I think you don't get enough of in undergrad, so it's important that you facilitate that in yourself as you move on to your next steps.
What did you do, like being a REEF fellow? What is that like? Sort of like, what's it entail?
Being a REEF fellow was really cool, honestly. For everybody, it's going to be a little bit different. A lot of times the REEF fellows were interns and then they became a fellow after being an intern. And so for me, something that I focused on was the geospatial component. So I utilized data from that SMILE project and I actually created a SMILE story map, which had like an integrated app with it. so that you can actually click on each point throughout one of our dives and you can see each of the fish that we have recorded throughout that dive. And then I presented that at a local conference. So that was one of the really cool projects I got to work on. I got to help out a lot with the SMILE project, so that was very exciting, and gave me a lot of insight to what this project that they work with scripts, they work with a variety of organizations. The other thing that I did is I worked opening the museum. And so there was a lot of work that we did to discuss it, to prepare for it, to do the grand opening. So that was really fun. But of course, something that's very cool about organizations like REEF is that when you go as an intern, when you go as a fellow, you're allowed to decide on your own projects, so long as they're within the like confines of what the organization is about. And so it's really amazing to get the opportunity to volunteer for organizations that facilitate your personal growth in that way. They know that you're there temporarily and they want you to go into your next step of your career stronger. So that's something that I admire about REEF and I'm very grateful for. Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for our online people for joining us. You are officially set free unless either of you have a dashboard you want me to take a look at.
Cool. Well, thank you, Diana. Well, thank you guys for coming to the event. If you have any further questions for Diana, reach out to her. And if any of you would like to join this Saturday, we're going to be doing analyzing shark tagging event. So I sent out an email about that, and there'll be a couple more things coming out about it. Hopefully, we'll get free food. Hopefully, we're going to see.
Yeah, we gotta get to, did we take photos of everybody? Did we get photos throughout the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, wait, hold on.
We can sit and listen. I'll have my laptop.
Surprise Kirby face.
Let's just reopen. Yeah, we'll just do this. Be like, quick, someone look productive.
Quick, someone look productive.
That one. Over there. Okay, but look at the screen like you do. Okay, I'm looking at the screen now. Okay. Now back it up. Now put your left arm down. Okay. Dashboards, they're great. We love dashboards.
Oh my God.
Quick, make those type-borne pencil.
Quick, sweat everything you can. What's that meme with the vein coming out of the forehead?
I think this is our biggest group that we've had of people, so maybe we'll take a group photo for this event.
Yeah, we can do that. You all mind taking a photo real quick?
Yeah. Y'all have been free food next night, like 6 or something.
I know.
It's gonna stick to the 10.
No, it's always the free food for the broke college students.
We've got to put out our marketing.
Yeah.
Well, let's just set it up because the more money we have, the better. That's fair. And you're not on the leadership board, so you're actually more important than the rest of us.
Should I just sit? Is this good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to go take a selfie with work. Okay, right in. Perfect. Good job, guys.
By the way,
Why I want
are you still for ASPRS?
Yes, we are. We are going to get you into our next leadership meeting, which, are we having one for the thing or are we doing it out?
We're probably gonna try after at least.
Perfect. We are
Yeah.
getting you in as soon as possible. We're probably, maybe just add her to the group chat now.
Yeah, that can work.
Okay, perfect. We're gonna put you to work already.
I do have to run, but
Yeah,
Okay. See you later.
thank you so much for attending.
Are there like other applicants at the screen?
Nope, just you. You're excited about it. That's more
You win
important
by
than
a
anything. Here, let me type in your information.
What is this phone number? Is this Discord?
Oh, this is WhatsApp. You can
WhatsApp.
type your phone number.
See you later.
Bye, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Perfect.
What?
Like this.
Oh, this is called ASPRS. It's a chapter thing we started about a year ago, 2 years ago now.
Lovely.
And basically the entire goal of the chapter is to teach people GIS, get them involved into it, get them into it, because it's a really, just like art, it's a really important skill to have.
Mhm.
And I mean, ASPRS is very reputable. They've been around since 1934, something like that. And the and the other thing about them is, do you know anything about LiDAR? So LiDAR has different qualities of data. There's 3, 2, 1, 0, and 0 is the best one. But the people that make the kind of regulations or whatever that classify the different qualifications and stuff is ASPRS for the entire world. So they're the ones that do a lot of LiDAR stuff, but they also have more kind of remote sensing, kind of the same thing. But they also have a lot more GIS stuff, drone flying and geospatial tools and stuff like that. So what we try to do here is that we try to offer to as many students as we can a lot of different events and trainings and other stuff like that. And so just like this event where we're teaching people a little bit about using ArcGIS Online with data that's sourced from somewhere else. We do a bunch of other things. We're going to do this analyzing shark tagging event so people can know how to do that for projects, or if they want to go into that for the future. We are going to do like a drone training event where I'm going to be teaching people how to fly drones and how to get their Part 107 license, because there are potentially ways that you can make like $100,000 a year by just flying drones. And it's really fun too. And then on top of that, there's a lot of great uses for it. So one thing that's going on right now, or is just kind of finishing up, is called FSMI. This is Florida Seafloor Mapping Initiative. Basically what this is just a Florida government sponsored project that's $100 million mapping the entire seafloor with LiDAR.
Dang.
And all this data that's going to be mapping out to, I think, 200 to 300 meters deep, that throughout the entire state of Florida, that will all be public and free data for anyone to take and use. And so this is an incredible thing that's going on, and it's making a bunch of really cool projects and stuff like that. Yeah, that was a shipwreck. I don't know which one. I mean, this is the entire.
It looks a little like the Dwayne.
Possibly.
The shape looks
Cool
familiar.
trenches.
That's the Dwayne. Yeah.
Celtic Crusader.
Remind me, right?
That's another. Well, that's a different one.
Probably a similar era.
Like, look at this shell.
Yeah.
Super pretty shell. Old highway bridge span. I've never heard of that. That's a really cool slice. Something like that. Lowrance, never heard of that. But yeah, so a lot of this data is going to be, or all of this data is going to be publicly available for you to take, and for not only scientists to use for research projects and other stuff like that, but also if you know what the seafloor looks like, you're able to tell where upwelling occurs, and where upwelling occurs are where fish are. So fishermen can go out to those areas and grab fish from high production areas that we thought were just empty ocean and had nothing there, but might have fish there. So all of this is super beneficial to the entire state of Florida. I think the ROI on it is like one of every $7, or $1 out of every $7 will be returned, or something like that. So yeah, it's like a 1 to 5 or 1 to 7 ratio. I can't remember, but it's 5 or 4 different companies.
Yeah.
Hoover, Wolpert, Dewberry. Wolpert has this crazy internship that you go.
Early,
Yeah.
you and I were talking about.
You go spend as an intern. You go spend out in one of the few major bays around the U.S. Spend 3 months on a boat, learning about sonar, how it works, and dealing with the sonar data, and you get paid $25 an hour.
Yeah.
Plus all of your
Nico showed me
yeah.
one, and then I found another on my own forever ago.
One of their and then also all of your travel is paid for.
Okay.
No, of
I
course.
wanted to get as many paid ones as possible. I paid my entire rent for a semester off one internship.
Your Janice class.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, actually 6 months.
That would be really
So that was great.
And so
Yeah, I've done my fair share of stuff for free, so I'm at the point where it's like, you need to pay me.
I know I should do more free stuff. But it's like,
Some of the opportunities,
some of them are great.
you get to do some really cool stuff and good skills, but it's just, I just can't. I'm not in a position where I can do this for free.
Specifically because of banking on something to pay my rent. One
Exactly.
semester. So when I couldn't live on campus anymore, so.
like, look at this.
Get it when you can.
So this is Fort Jefferson
Oh,
Okay.
in the Dry Tortugas with Snoopy on the side. Yeah,
I haven't heard it called Snoopy, but yeah.
Fort Jefferson, Pickles Reef. That's just super pretty data. Some coral mounts in a little river area. There's the Benwood. Another coral reef. That's pretty cool. These underwater channels are awesome. Just being able to see that. Some more barges.
Some SpongeBob and Patrick.
This is a blue hole that's in Florida. Apparently, we have blue holes here.
No way.
Yeah. We actually have a
How
lot.
do those
We have a
form?
lot.
Like, what's the deal with just a random
PBS.
pit to
No
nowhere?
Folks like PBS document. Don't know.
So especially because you're.
It's an image.
That's
So
crazy. I know there's one in Bahamas.
Yeah.
That's famous.
that's crazy.
Isn't that just what you? Is that the one where it's like that's the one where it caused the theory of the Bermuda Triangle boat disappearances.
They fall in the pit. Is that what it is?
Just the change of pressure, like the change of pressure, gradually affects buoyancy around them.
I guess. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's specifically related to the blue hole, but I do know that it's like
That one of the
leading-
theories
the
behind
leading
Bermuda
theory.
Triangle. Anytime I look
The
up anything in the
leading-
Bermuda Triangle, it's just that area just so happens to have a lot of crazy weather.
Yeah. It's
Tell me.
perfectly matched for weather, and that adjacently also goes with
Yeah.
the fact that the season stuff.
Tell me, this is really cool. The Everglades there is so pretty. How the fuck is this not destroyed after every single hurricane? How?
How is it not like flooded over?
How? This thing just sold
There's-
for
there's-
like
there-
$30 million.
There's no way a SpongeBob sea bear ring keeps the
Yeah, no,
keeps the
doesn't.
hurricane.
It is a naturally big sea bear ring, okay? It's literally fucking
Naturally formed.
Was it not? Was it not?
I
No,
don't think so.
No way, 100% someone put rocks around it. I mean, I'm sure over time
Okay.
the sand's built up around it,
Because
but
this obviously looks organic. This was more sporadic and then they reinforced it to a perfect.
Probably like
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah,
But like,
And what- how much-
how are these and any of the houses in Stiltsville like still?
okay, is the
Out
house
there.
on stilts?
What?
Is the house on stilts?
No, this one is not. Most of the other ones are on stilts.
Yeah, because I thought there
It's
had
South,
to
okay, it's South America. So someone lives here?
be $30 million should not have.
South America, it's called East Sister Rock.
You're like.
How does plumbing and water work there?
Let's get on
That's
Zillow.
right.
I agree.
Probably something, but pumping water in.
There's no way. There's no way you can pump fresh water there. There's no way.
How the fuck is your electricity? Oh, there's a few solar panels.
Electricity, solar.
Well, solar panel, yeah.
Oh, it's so close. It's so close.
Oh, okay. They can definitely put piping underneath.
There's there's a third of your $30 million, but yeah.
Let's see. Rock Island, awesome.
Excited to have you.
Rental?
Zillow. You can rent it, but it's
Oh my God.
so expensive.
We need richer friends.
What?
I'm not rich enough.
Can you imagine?
Rent
Can you
the
imagine
house
throwing a
first.
party on that house?
Then we need richer friends.
That
Remember,
would be
best
incredible.
vote is someone
If we
else's
get
vote.
every grad student in the OC to pitch in money, we rent this Airbnb for 2
But
nights.
do you want to take every grad student